Welcome to Adeptus On Air, the show where we examine how individuals and companies make decisions that drive their business and personal success. Each week, we connect with notable professionals who pull back the curtain on the industries that Adeptus has been on the cutting edge of for the last 30 years, including music, sports, and entertainment, as well as new emerging markets.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Adeptus on Air. I am your host, Mike Hoffman, and this week I am joined by Shameka Sawyer. Shameka, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Shameka is the executive director of the Five Shorts Project, which is a nonprofit for filmmakers and storytellers. And I always love talking to people who like to tell stories because usually they tell me some good stories. So it's a pleasure to have you here. Give me a little bit of background on yourself in terms of, obviously you're in the entertainment business, you work on films and so forth like that. What got you into that path?
Yes, so when I was younger, I had two brothers, and we used to always play around with like making funny videos and funny like cassette tape recordings. So
Sure.
I'm aging myself right now.
Oh yeah.
So we used to play around with those things, and when I was in my junior year of college, I lost my oldest brother to cancer. And so, as a way for me to feel close to him, I created the Five Shorts Project.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of it was to connect with local filmmakers who already had experience in filmmaking and have us just create five short films. And so that was my way of, number one, feeling like a piece of my brother was still with me.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, just learning about who else was in the area creating films and how can we get together to do this as a team. So that's where we started. And then as time went on, more people would ask me about actually making a film who didn't have experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I transitioned into teaching individuals how to actually make a film instead of working with people who already knew how to make a film. But the people who do know how to make films still help those who are emerging filmmakers and want to
Sure.
learn the whole process.
So how did you learn the process? So obviously this is something you did in your earlier life. So what kind of films did you work on when you were, earlier in your career?
So in college, I took some video production and
Mm-hmm.
cinematography classes as electives.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with just visual storytelling and just the power in visual storytelling and how it can give voice and acknowledgement to situations and people that many of us may not know or think about. And so, taking those classes and working on student films, I got a bit of opportunity to hone my chops a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, filmmaking, as in a lot of other things, is very it's continuous learning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you can just learn, in
Yeah.
2014 something and then um, keep that same perspective today because technology changes so fast. So yeah, that's how I started learning about filmmaking, and I am still learning today.
So so if you're creating something of your own,
Hmm.
what is, I'll either use the word inspiration or thought process to come up with, okay, this is something I'm passionate about, whether it's a documentary. I know I've read you've done both things, whether it's a documentary about a event or a person or something more creative that you kind of came up with. Walk me through that process.
So normally I have to have an interest and passion for whatever it is I'm focusing on. I know many of us, we draw from personal experience
Mm-hmm.
because that's where we have the most knowledge. But there are times where you will work on things that you may not have much knowledge about. And I think the beauty is in a journey of learning about it and then condensing what you learned down into a film so others can learn about it. So, but I have to have a connection to it. Like I have to feel something for the subject matter or the person that I'm focusing on.
Okay, so talk to me about some of the early films
Mhm.
that you came up with.
So my first short film is a comedy. And I thought at the moment that I was pretty funny. So, so I made a short comedy about a young woman who, got caught up with social media and thinking
Mhm.
that just because a guy liked a lot of her pictures, that he was interested in her. And then she created this false narrative about them actually being a couple when they haven't even met. So I thought it was funny to just play around with that, because when I made that film, it was like the beginning stages of Instagram,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of talk about people getting mixed signals
Oh,
when
sure.
someone is liking a picture or giving them a comment. And so I thought it would be funny just to make a short film, just playing along those lines.
So when you're making a film like that, as a perfect example, you were the writer,
Mhm.
director,
Mhm.
producer. You were everything. So I think more so with the short films, it's really a even more so hands-on approach to every aspect of the film. Would that be correct?
That is so correct. I think for my first short film, I was everything: the camera operator, the sound recordist,
Yeah.
lighting,
The editor.
everything, right? Um, and yeah, and I shot it with one camera, and I can be honest and say, like, you learn so much after you make your first short film,
Mhm.
and when you look back at it, you're like, wow, I've come a long way. But yes, an independent film is a lot of one person playing all roles.
Right.
Sometimes you're lucky and you can have friends and family help out. And then sometimes you can just put a call out on social media or on some
Mhm.
platforms and try to get help that way. But normally it's usually a one woman show in my case, simply because of funding,
Sure.
don't have the Hollywood budget,
Mhm.
but you have a passion for what you're doing, so you just take what you have and you run with it.
Define two things for me, because for people that are listening who might not know, because we referred to some terminology twice.
Mhm,
Define a short film
mhm.
and define for me what an independent film is.
Right. So a short film is a film, 40 minutes or less.
Mm.
So when you go over the 40-minute mark, you're starting to hit into full length films. Um, so just think of a film, 40 minutes or less. It could be 1 minute. That's a short film.
Mhm.
But I think today they call it like microfilms now. When we talk about like 5 minutes and less. So, in terms of independent films, these are films that individuals just make on their own. They're not connected to any production studios. They're not connected to any of the big names that you hear out there. You probably won't see them do a theatrical release in like an AMC
Mhm.
theaters. These are more so like DIY filmmaking projects where the individual just creates a film on their own with their own money and their own connections.
Right. And DIY is do it yourself.
Yes.
I just figured that out. You see that pretty
Yes.
good. So when you make an independent film, obviously you make it for people to see it. And like you just said, it's not going to be at the AMC or the Regal or something like that. So how, after you've gone through the entire process, or I'm sure it happens during the process of making an independent short film, what's the step to get it into in front of people?
So what I do is I host a premiere screening of the films that participants of Five Shorts creates. And then even if I make my own independent films, which are normally short films, I will connect with other filmmakers who made short films,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll come together to have a screening at a local theater or a local venue that has that capability to screen films.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a great opportunity to learn about who else is in your area
Sure.
making films and just collaborating together and putting together a great screening for your community.
And then how does it extend, or does it extend beyond that community? So you have that event, you get me, my film, your film, Johnny's film. We show three great short films. That night's over.
Right.
How do other people then get to see that?
So normally a lot of us will do the film festival circuit. So we will go on Film Freeway and submit to different festivals. We usually qualify because our screenings, our initial screenings are local, so it won't disqualify us from a lot of the film festival requirements. After we do the film festivals, usually it takes about, or we'll do about a year run. Then we'll put them on Instagram.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sorry, not Instagram, YouTube. We'll put them on YouTube. Some people will um, broker like distribution deals with like Tubi to have their
Okay.
films distributed there. So there's different outlets you can use. But for me, I normally use YouTube because I feel like it has a broader reach.
Hmm.
It's free, so people are more willing to take a chance and, and watch it there. So that's what I do.
And obviously, you hear about, in the news when you're talking about the major motion pictures through the studios, film budgets. And this film budget had a $200 million budget, and this actor got paid this or that. For your short film, give me an estimate, if you don't mind, on what a budget might be on say, a 30 to 40-minute short film.
I mean, it would be what's called like a micro budget. I mean, it could be $500 or
Okay.
more. And actually, if you have everything you need and your actors are willing to volunteer, it could be even cheaper than that.
Hmm.
So it's really not expensive. It really depends on what you have at your disposal, whether you have the equipment, you know how to work the equipment. So that cuts costs there, so you don't have
Sure.
to hire a camera operator. If you know how to direct, you don't have to hire a director. If you know how to produce, you don't have to hire a producer.
Right.
But if you don't know how to do those things, then you may have to hire people to come on, or ask people to volunteer their services. If they get your vision and they believe in the project, they may just volunteer. So it really just depends on what you have at your disposal, and yeah. So you're looking at about $500
Okay.
when you think about like feeding your cast,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and you may need some new lenses or something like that. So just for those types of things, location permits and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
So now let's move ahead to the five shorts project. So you started a long time ago. It's obviously evolved over time.
Yes.
So the intent initially was five shorts, as you said.
Hmm.
But now, however many years later, now what is the focus of the project?
Yes. So the focus now is still to help emerging filmmakers learn the filmmaking process and to get their films out there. Um, I'm big on amplifying voices,
Hmm.
and I always want to make sure that, you know, all stories are heard. If you have a story that you've been thinking about, but you're just not sure how to pull together the production, that's what Five Shorts is for. And that's basically still the premise now to this day, is just making sure that we continue to put forward the new filmmakers and making filmmaking accessible, because a lot of people think that you have to have the expensive
Hmm.
equipment and a ton of people on a set
Yeah.
in order to make a film, and that's not true. And so that's what Five Shorts does. It makes it really accessible to make a film.
So what's the most gratifying experience that's come out of it? Meaning working with a particular person or a certain movie getting completed. Can you think to one thing that really made you proud of this organization?
It's always the film screenings, because all the participants get to see their work on an actual screen, so it's not a computer screen,
Yeah, yeah.
it's an actual screen. And all of they can invite their family, their friends, the actors come out, and it's just a really gratifying experience to see them watch their work come to fruition when they thought it wasn't possible, and then having those conversations afterwards about the feeling, and being in an audience and listening to the audience react to your film in real time. It's an experience that it's hard to put words to, but
Hmm.
it's really, really gratifying to be a part of that.
So I gotta believe it's pretty nerve-wracking watching others watch your film. So sitting in that theater, and I'm sure you probably have, one of your eyes on the screen to see what it looks like on the big screen. But I
Hmm.
gotta believe your other eyes kind of looking around at people, maybe it's family, friends, other people in the industry, to see their face and their reactions to it.
Definitely. It's a little scary, because for the participants of the project, this is their first short
Mm-hmm.
film.
Yeah.
And so they've never been through this experience before, and they don't know how the audience is going to react to what
Mm-hmm.
they see on the screen. And the hope is the audience catches all of the moments that the filmmaker wants them to catch. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't. But I think it's a great learning experience. It's definitely a great learning experience if you're planning to make another film where this is your passion and you want to
Mm-hmm.
continue on as a filmmaker. You start to learn what resonates with an audience and what doesn't really work for the audience. And then too, it's like, friends and family will give you feedback and say, "Oh, it's great. This
Mm-hmm.
is amazing." But when you're sitting in an audience, you really get the opportunity to really listen and hear
Yeah.
if it's really great, or if
Right.
you need to go back and do more work. So, yeah, I think, it's scary, but I think it's necessary.
How does someone who's making these short films make a living? So now I'm an accounting firm. Let's talk about that side of it. Obviously, without getting into specifics, but if someone's doing this and you talked about the releases and things like that, how does it become from a passion to a career?
Yes. So, the great thing about filmmaking is you learn video production. And those skills from writing a script to pulling together a production to operating cameras to knowing people who can do all this stuff comes in handy if you want to then make money by producing content for corporations, for
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, for nonprofits, like all of these different places. You now have the skills to connect with them and do video production projects for them. So that's one way you can make money.
Mm-hmm.
Another way off of your film is, of course, for the screenings, you can always charge
Mm-hmm.
a ticket price to come in. And by doing that, you start to, especially if you're using a platform like Eventbrite, where you can collect email addresses, you can start to build out um, an audience of supporters, so you can reach out to them when your next film is coming and you're trying to like do
Mm-hmm.
crowdfunding or anything like that. They're more willing to support because they're familiar with you. And then with social media being so video dense
Mm-hmm.
now,
Yeah.
if you have those skills, even if you're teaching a training workshop or anything like that, you can probably make some money. Or even if you're just doing work for other people, you can probably make some pretty decent money if you're good at what you do. So there's a couple of ways you can monetize these skills.
So is it safe to say, now changing gears a little bit, that you are a movie lover? Would that be safe to say? Not just on the short film genre, but the larger films, or is that something
I
you're not
do.
into?
Oh no. I love film.
All right.
um
So when you
yeah.
watch a film, so are you able to watch the film like I am as a fan? Or are you watching the film for, ooh, I would have done the lighting differently there, or I don't really like that music choice, or are you being more critical, or can you watch it as just a fan?
It depends. If the film is really good, even if you're trying to watch it from a critical perspective, that will change because you'll get caught up in the film and you'll totally forget about, wow, that angle didn't work, or
Right.
oh, I that jump cut wasn't a good one, it was too
Mm-hmm.
harsh. You won't even pay attention to that. You'll start just getting caught up in the story, and none of that stuff will even matter. But there are some films and television shows and commercials, because I have this background, I'll watch and I'll say, that wasn't a good choice, or oh, I wonder
Right.
how they got that shot. So
Yeah.
it really just depends on how good the work is.
All right. So let's talk movies for a few minutes here. So we'll go to a few different genres here.
Okay.
Comedy. Over the years, what comedy stand out to you as being, like, some of the best?
Oh, that's a good question. There's so many. So I really like Girls Trip. Of course, like classics like Coming to America,
Hmm.
The Hangover.
Hmm.
Just yeah, the really really good ones. In my opinion, those are the ones that I like.
All right, on the drama side.
So for drama, I was really caught up in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Really love that one. I'm a huge, well, this is kind of like horror.
Okay, good.
I'll wait for that one.
All right, fair enough.
And let's see who else. For drama. I don't know, for drama, I'm more of a television person for drama than I
All right,
am.
so talk to me about that then, because it goes the same angle.
Yeah, so I just finished Suits on Netflix.
Fantastic show.
Loved it, and I was like, why wasn't I watching this when it was
But Suits is interesting because I don't even know if I call that a full out drama because I
yeah,
think
it's
that's
like
almost
a
like a dramedy
dramedy.
because
Yeah, there you
there's
go.
so much comedy content in that.
Yes, yes, but the characters are so
Yeah.
well written,
Hmm.
and even down to the wardrobe. I'm like,
Yeah.
it just matches each character. I think is brilliant. The show is brilliant. I'm just sad that I just started watching
Just
now.
start with that. And what about we'll go one more category. What about action?
Action. Who? Oh. So I do like Transformers. I do like.
Okay.
I do like that
All right.
franchise. I do like the Avengers franchise. Like Black Panther, like all of the Marvel stuff. I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, I've never myself got. I have trouble. I've never gotten into maybe because I'm a girl dad. I've never gotten into the action movies like that, like with the superheroes.
Yeah.
A lot of my colleagues and friends that have seen it have like boys, so they go to the movies with their sons and stuff. And my girls are like, I don't care. So I just never really got into it. And I'm one of the few people of my generation that could say they never saw a Star Wars or a Star Trek movie. It
Interesting.
was just sci-fi and all that was just never my thing.
Okay. So what's your thing?
No, I like a good action movie. I love the three categories I gave you. I'll pass on horror. I'm not really a horror guy, but a
Okay.
good comedy, a good action, a good drama. Like from an action standpoint, again, these are probably not critically acclaimed good movies,
Mm-hmm.
but something like White House Down, with Channing Tatum,
Was really
or
good. Yeah.
Air Force One. Like
Mm-hmm.
just the two that are coming to my head. Just action, good storyline.
Good storyline. Yeah.
Kind of keep me going. Comedies, The Hangover is obviously a
Right.
classic. If you there's something about Mary I thought was
Yes.
so funny.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously your mind had to go to a different area. You have to be,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be sensitive to not being sensitive
Right.
because obviously, they're insulting people with some disabilities and things like that. But
Right.
from a
Yeah.
funny standpoint, there's that. And then dramas. I was trying to think as you were talking. I'm not really thinking of a drama. No drama specifically came to mind. Uh, but don't like to leave a movie sad. It sounds awful. I want to go to a movie and be entertained, but I don't want to like leave it feeling bad about things. So,
Right.
when you're watching an action movie, all right, it's going to end positively.
Right.
And comedy, whether it's going to end happy or if it's a romantic comedy, the guy's going to get the girl. It's what
Right.
and if it's not, it's still going to end in a humorous way.
Right.
But there's so many dramas that just end sad, and to me, I don't want to be entertained and leave feeling worse than I did going in.
Agreed.
So I'm very cognizant of that. Like there was the one I actually just saw. I'll filter through social media and movie clips come up. And one that came up last week was a movie going back 15, 20 years. I forget the name of it,
Mm.
but it was with Susan Sarandon and Julia Roberts, where she was dying, but then Julia Roberts was marrying the first husband. So the kids were dealing with the death of their mom. And
Okay.
I'm like, I don't want to sit through that. I don't want to sit through kids losing a parent and, so,
Yeah.
things like that. But I'm probably more of a TV person, kind of like you just said. I'm much more with a half hour, 1 hour, 1 hour
Right.
show.
Right.
Uh, you know, uh, on the comedy side, like Big Bang Theory, Modern Family, I thought were both
Um,
brilliant of recent shows.
yeah.
When you're talking the dramas, again, I guess I kind of like the political stuff. 'Cause I thought West Wing was brilliant.
Yes.
When you're
I mean,
talking dramedies, Ally McBeal going back 15, 20 years, like that
oh
humor to me
yeah,
was just brilliant. Stupid,
yeah,
as stupid
but
as it
really
gets, the
sharp.
dancing baby and stuff, but just yeah, I leave it laughing,
Right, right.
and to me that's important. And then from a drama, I guess some of those legal shows. I mean, my wife can watch Law and Order over and over and over.
They're
Uh,
addictive.
they're addictive, but Blue Bloods I think is really well done.
Hmm.
And some of those Chicago shows. So yeah, I try and watch a diverse things, but I really don't want to leave something feeling like
Yeah,
sad,
yeah.
kind of thing. How do you think reality TV being so prevalent
Hmm.
has changed the course of the entertainment industry in terms of creative shows or movies?
I mean, well, it's cheaper to make, so
Yeah,
there's that. I think it's interesting because is it really reality TV?
no, it's
That's
all
the
scripted.
question.
It's
Yeah,
scripted. It's
it's
scripted
all
reality.
scripted, right? And so I think it opened the door for opportunities for individuals who probably wouldn't make it,
Mhm.
as an actual actor. So it did open up opportunities and jobs for individuals. I, I it's like a love hate relationship because I do
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
reality
of course.
TV. I
Yeah,
do.
sure. I think
But
we all do. We don't want to admit it, but we all do.
yeah, it's like a guilty pleasure.
Sure.
And I do think we all in entertainment have a responsibility, just to uphold just how certain things are portrayed on television. And I
Sure.
think with reality TV, a lot of the times there are some lines that are really crossed.
Hmm.
Um, and I think we just have to be aware of, um, how stories and individuals are presenting themselves or being presented in reality TV.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely changed television.
Yes.
The whole concept of
Hmm.
you just have regular people,
Hmm.
just living out their lives in front of a television, in front of cameras. That in itself is just very interesting to watch. I just think we have to
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
healthy balance, right?
Oh no, no, no doubt. So one other thing you mentioned before, and probably last thing we'll talk about is you talked about kind of like content creation, and
Hmm.
now with social media,
Hmm.
you know, we have so many content creators, or you can call them influencers, or whatever they are. And if you want to talk about short films,
Hmm.
they'll come up with these 60 or 90-second or 2 minute you know videos about whatever, whether it's they're in home decor or whether they're into this or into that. And I'm sure you're on social media and I'm sure you see a lot of these things. What are your thoughts on that evolution over the past 5-10 years?
I definitely say that it has made video production more accessible.
Hmm.
I think people who are creating these videos start to understand how to tell a story visually. Just watching some of this stuff, I'm just like, wow, like how they cut together this
Hmm.
spot in 60 seconds to tell a story is amazing. Because
Yeah.
before this, it was like you had to watch something for an hour to
Hmm.
really understand what was happening. But now people have come to the point where they're able to get a story out and you're fully aware of what's happening in 60 seconds. So it puts more pressure on us as filmmakers to really capture and keep attention. I think that's the hardest thing is just creating films that compete with TikTok and
Yeah.
Instagram and what you see there because with those platforms you can easily scroll if you don't like something.
That's right.
And with film it's like but we don't want you to click off. We want you
Right.
to watch. And so it's like how do we now craft our content in a way that
Mhm.
it keeps people interested and they're not picking up their phones. I think that's the challenge for us now.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point. I mean, back in the day, you go to a movie, and if
Right.
the first 20 minutes were slow, all right, well, you paid for the movie, you're going to sit and watch it, and you hope it
Right.
gets better. Now, and it's not even a short film. Now, if I'm watching a movie on Netflix and I'm 10 minutes in,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ending the movie. I'm going to go something else. And I wasted
Yes.
10 minutes. No big deal. So I think it's
Yes.
important now in this industry that, it can't be, it's kind of like a book. Oh, the book didn't really pick up till chapter 5. Well, I don't think now you storytellers have the ability now
Right.
to have a 20-minute setup,
Right.
because if you lose my interest in the first 10, I'm not going to wait for that setup to be over. I'm going to move on.
Exactly. And that's why you see a lot of productions or, stuff on Netflix now. They have like in the beginning they create a cliffhanger. So like
Right. And then I'll say
someone's going in.
3 weeks earlier.
Right.
Right.
Right. And that's why they do it, because now since they hooked you in, now you want to
Yes.
know why did this happen, so you'll
Yes.
continue to watch.
And it's
Yeah.
it's true, because and you're right. Even when I'm watching a TV at home, it's, this thing gets picked up, and whether I'm checking a score or an email or something like
Mhm.
that. So it's hard to focus. So something's really gotta
Mhm.
get my attention, which really, increase my expectations are pretty high now,
Right.
because if not, I got Netflix, I got Hulu, I got Amazon Prime, I got
Right.
40 channels on cable, and if not, I could just go on TikTok and watch, all these short little stupid things if I wanted to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So how would you like to see your career evolve over the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. I just I want to see just more authentic storytelling
Hmm.
from my point of view. Just working with more productions of my own, because I've been working with helping a lot of people get their
Yeah.
stories out. So now I'm looking forward to picking up projects that I have interest in and really focusing on those and building those out. I'm not really interested in being a part of like mainstream
Okay.
Hollywood,
Hmm.
because I like having the creative control over
Hmm.
my
Sure.
projects.
Sure.
So and then I know there's an audience for what I do. So I'm okay there and being in that space. But I would just like to do more of the things that I have a passion for and interest for, telling stories about.
Well, if you want to tell a story about a middle-aged balding accountant, I could definitely be an inspiration to you. So you can reach out, and
Definitely with this awesome podcast.
I'm
Oh
telling you, the exciting stories that we have and what we do every day. My God, the story just writes itself.
nice. Nice.
Well, listen. Tell us how we can find you and follow your stuff on social media.
So on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is at Five Shorts Project. So that's the number five, the word shorts, and project. So all in one. And our website is five shorts, the number five, the word shorts.org.
And on YouTube, you'd mentioned YouTube before. Is there?
Yes. Oh, so yes, YouTube as well at Five Shorts Project is our handle.
Awesome. Listen, I appreciate you coming on. It was real interesting stuff, and I wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast. I really
Good.
enjoyed myself.
All right, I'll be looking to follow you throughout the year. So
Awesome.
thanks so much.
No problem.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus On Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. If you have a question related to this episode or have a request for what you would like to hear, please email us at marketing@adeptuscpas.com. You can also find us at adeptuscpas.com online or follow us at Adeptus on social media. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.